I am triggering people today. Stick around to find out why I think the 2011 to 2018 Ford Focus is the best car Ford has built in years. What's going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel, and if you're new here, my name is Mason. I'm a Senior Master Tech with Ford, and today we're going to be talking about the Ford Focus. So before we get into this Ford Focus today, if you haven't already taken the time to go down there and hit that subscribe button for me, make sure you do that. That way you can find your way back to the channel. Also, let me know down in the comments what some of your favorite daily drivers are. Well, you own a Focus, or maybe you used to own a Focus. You're probably sitting here watching this video right now, shaking your head, saying this guy is a clickbait idiot. There's absolutely no way that the Ford Focus is the best car that Ford has made in years, because I own one that's a piece of junk. It was in the shop more than I was able to drive. But wait, just a minute. I'm convinced that I can completely change your mind on this Ford Focus. So where do I start? I guess the best place to start off would be with the transmission, which I'm sure is the reason 99% of you don't like this car. So yes, I'll admit the DPS6 transmission that came in these Ford Focuses is really weird and very hard to get used to. If you didn't already know, this is actually a manual transmission with a control module that operates a dual clutch and shifts gears for you, hence my made up name, automatic manual transmission. These transmissions were notorious for failing control modules and prematurely burning up the clutch in the transmission. I'm sure if any of you ever owned one, you were constantly visiting your dealer. You probably built a lot better relationship with those people than you would have liked to. So at this point in the video, you're probably asking yourself, if this transmission has so many issues, why in the hell am I standing up here trying to convince you that this is the best car Ford has built in a long time? So not only am I trying to convince you, but you might be asking yourself, why would I ever even want to own one of these cars? Well, here's why. Well, I guess to answer this, I actually need to give a little bit of a backstory. Over the past few years, I've gotten really big into aviation. I've actually gotten my private pilot's license and my instrument rating in the last 2 years. Something I have really learned through the course of aviation is scheduled maintenance. It's not something that I knew a lot about, or maybe I thought I knew a lot about it, but I didn't really actually know what it meant. Scheduled maintenance in the aviation world is when you replace or overhaul a part based on a designated amount of time instead of waiting till that part fails. So basically every essential part of an airplane has a designated lifespan. Makes sense, a little bit more important in an airplane, huh? So nevertheless, I thought to myself, I said, why don't we apply those same rules to automobiles? And the short answer to that question, if you're wondering, is you're the reason we don't do scheduled maintenance. The reason we don't do scheduled maintenance is because the consumers just don't want to pay for it. They'd rather their vehicle just leave them stranded on the side of the road instead of paying us to replace a part that's working properly. In the aviation world, that's not really an option. You know, if you got to pull over, you're kind of in a bind there. You just want to find somewhere to put it down, I guess. Reeling it back in here. With this Focus, I don't care what you do, how you drive it, it is inevitable that those two parts that I just mentioned will have to be replaced in the lifetime of that car unless you total it at 15,000 miles. So the normal life of a clutch, from what I've seen, that all varies a lot depending on how you drive the car, but the lifespan of a clutch is around 60 to 80,000 miles. So for math's sake, let's say 75,000 miles is the lifespan of our clutch. This is the #1 issue on every Ford Focus on the road. I guarantee if you've owned one or plan on owning one, just get familiar with this, because this clutch is going to have to be replaced less than every 100,000 miles, 100%. I don't care if you drive it on the interstate or around town or how you drive it, it's going to have to be replaced. It costs approximately $1,500 at a dealer to have this clutch replaced. If that's the only thing you're having repaired, pull the trans, put a new clutch in, put the trans back in, it's roughly $1,500. Now assuming, and this is actually a high assumption, assuming that you drive 20,000 miles a year, by that math, it would take roughly 4 years for you to hit the end of the lifespan of this clutch. So let's break this down. I am much better at working on cars than I am at math, but even me with a calculator was able to figure this one out. So I think you guys will be able to follow along. So by my math that I just did, it costs $1,500 every 4 years to replace this clutch. So if you divide that $1,500 by 4, you come up with $375 per year. That's one out of every year in the Ford. Then if we take that $375 and we divide it by 12, we would get the monthly cost that it's going to take for us to pay for that clutch. Divide that $375 by 12 and you get the monthly price of $31.25 that it is going to cost to replace that clutch once every 4 years. So when I look at that, I think to myself, that's actually not very bad considering that's probably the only maintenance this car is ever going to need. All right, now wait a minute. What about those faulty control modules that I mentioned earlier in the video? Well, the truth is that there is actually a recall extending the warranty coverage out for that one part on these Focuses for 10 years or 150,000 miles, whichever occurs first. So that means as long as you don't go out on time, you're covered up to 150,000 miles on that transmission control module. Ford will pay for that on their dime, not yours. Regardless of that transmission control module extended warranty coverage recall, odds are that by this point in time, almost every single one of those TCMs on those cars have been replaced. They had a lot of problems when they first come out. It took them a while to exactly figure out how to build one, but by this point, they've actually figured out how to build that module, where when we swap them out one time, we usually don't see them ever come back. So I hope this little breakdown that I just did on the super common issues that we see out of the transmissions on these cars eases your worries a little bit about owning one. Now, for the absolute best part about this car, the 2.0 liter engine. This engine is my absolute favorite engine that Ford has ever built. The 2.0 is indestructible. If you change the oil in this engine, the car will literally rot to the ground sitting around it, and I promise you this engine will still be running. I cannot brag on it enough. I absolutely love them. The 2.0 engine actually, I believe, is modeled off of its predecessor, which was the 2.5 that they had in the Fusions. The 2.5 and the Fusion, the naturally aspirated 2.5 that was in like the 08, 09, 10 Fusions, that motor is a absolute tank as well. You just about can't tear them up. This 2.0 is very, very similar. I actually like it a little bit better just because it has a little bit more power, it seems like, because it has that high pressure fuel pump up there kicking. Honestly, other than the trans issues that I broke down earlier, this car is pretty much bulletproof. I've owned personally several of these Focuses and I love them as everyday commuters. I'll keep buying them till the day I die as long as they're available. I really do love these cars. So all that said, don't let your neighbor Jerry talk you out of buying one of these cars because he had one and it had so many problems. You just do you. All right, guys, that's pretty much gonna wrap up this video. If you haven't already, went down in the comments and told me what your everyday commuter is, go down there right now and tell me what you think about the Ford Focus. I really, really want to hear some other opinions because I know they have a really bad name. This transmission has a terrible name, probably the worst disaster that Ford has ever done in the history of car manufacturers. I mean, it's awful. The lawsuits, the people that have just been so upset about the performance of these cars. Let me know what you think about them. I know what my opinion. I think they're great cars. I think if you understand the issues, you understand how that transmission works, what it is, what is actually wearing out on it. It's a clutch. It's just like a brake pad. It wears out over time, especially if you do a lot of stopping and starting driving. It's going to wear out even faster. If you understand these basic components, though, the car is really, I mean, they don't tear up other than the clutch. That's it. That's the only problem I see on them. Anyways, I'm going to shut up now. I've been rambling on here again in one of these long videos that starts out as a 10-minute video and then it turns into a 15. The next thing I know, I post it and it's 22 minutes long. No, I might want to see that shit. Whatever. I'm going to shut up now. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you have not already went and subscribed, go down there and hit the subscribe button. What are you waiting on? I mean, come on. Hit the like button if you enjoy the content, and I will see y'all in the next one. Peace out.